We've got something special to start out for you this morning. And Judy, on Easter, Judy was inspired. God gave her a monologue to write for an Easter service that we were doing. And she performed it, and it was very touching, and people loved it. So then other churches kept requesting that she do it. So she's been doing this around the country. But anyway, we wanted to bless you with this today, and it's her monologue about 3 women in the Bible that you'll recognize and how they were affected by the life and the death and the resurrection of Jesus.
When I first met him, he had such an authority. People would be constantly taken aback by the things he would say. His teachings, they weren't the typical teachings that we were accustomed to. They were new and different and unusual and wonderful. When he spoke, we listened. That night, I knew that he would be having dinner at the home of one of the most respected Pharisees in the city. I also knew that I would not be welcome because I was a woman, because I was less than, because I had made some awful, awful choices. To get in, I was going to have to walk directly through the center of the room. There would be no sneaking in. I stepped in, and immediately my worst fears were realized. The music stopped, and like a wave, every head turned to stare at me, except for him. He just quietly kept eating his dinner. You have to understand, this man's teachings, they had given me dignity. I could never fully express my gratitude to him. And so I poured out my life savings, this little bottle of precious perfumed oil, onto his beautiful feet. It was ridiculously expensive. It was sort of my backup plan. But I no longer needed it or wanted it. I just wanted him. I wanted him to have it because he had given me so much. Yes, I heard the murmurings. If this man were really a prophet, he would know who is touching him and what kind of woman she is. That she is a sinner. That label I knew so well filled me with such shame. They were right. And yet I stayed right where I was. And you know, to my surprise, I heard him defending me. Defending me and rebuking those Pharisees. He spoke such kind words over me. You see, it was his authority that turned away my harshest critics. And it was his authority that had made me clean. That's why I don't understand. I don't see how he died. How could a man with that kind of authority become so helpless? It was as if he were doing it on purpose, holding back his power so that he could taste pain or suffering or even death. I don't understand. When I met him, he seemed so wise. I was a woman caught in the midst of adultery, and there was only one outcome possible for a woman in my position: death by public stoning. You see, they dig a hole in the ground and bury you up to your waist, and then they throw rocks at your head and upper body until there's no life left in you. It's a gruesome way to die. All their fury against sin and rebellion and forgetting God's commands could be directed solely at me, as if they could force it out of themselves and onto me. And their hatred, their intense hatred, would frighten anyone else from being as stupid as I had been. They threw me in front of him in the temple courtyard and demanded to know just what he thought of me. I remember I was humiliated. And yet he didn't say anything for quite some time. Those quiet moments of stillness, they surprised me as they passed. And then, that voice, so full of love: if any among you is without sin, you be the first to throw a stone at her. The silence was palpable. Eventually, the men and the religious leaders, they dropped their stones and walked away. Every single one of them. Oh, it was just me and him. Woman, where are your accusers? Has no one condemned you? I was shocked. And yet I knew full well that he certainly knew. No one, sir. Then neither do I condemn you. Go ahead and leave this life of sin. I walked away a free woman that day. Grace is a powerful thing. My heart, it was transformed in that instant, and I became an ardent follower. I have to believe that there's more to this. With my own eyes, I saw him die a cruel, cruel death. But do you know, he was so wise. The man could have easily used his wisdom to defend himself in court with Caiaphas or even with Pilate. But he chose not to. I don't know, but I have to believe there's more to this story than I'm seeing. It's not over. It's not over. I saw him. He's alive. I promise you. He's alive. Okay. I know it sounds crazy, but listen. When I met him, he was so strong. I mean, he cast 7 demons out of me. You know me. I was a woman considered unclean by my entire community. I was to be avoided at all costs. Never a smile or a kind word or even a hug, nothing. Just disdain. And all I knew was to spit back or to shock them or to revel in my own filth. But then I met him. He was so kind and warm. And he looked me in the eyes. Oh, there was such love in those eyes. I could tell he wasn't afraid of catching my disease. He even touched me. And with that touch, all my tormentors were gone. And this deep peace and gratitude replaced that barren wasteland that had been inside of me. I was changed, completely transformed. His strength, well, it revealed my weakness, but it replaced it at the same time. It was like a bird catching a current of wind and beginning to glide. Oh, it was spectacular. It was amazing. I began to follow him. I followed him everywhere. I cooked for him. I ministered to him. I listened to him. I learned from him. I listened to every word he spoke. And I too was there at the cross. And I watched him die. And I saw them place his lifeless body inside that tomb. And I saw them roll that huge, huge boulder in front of that tomb. And I saw the soldiers standing guard. I only left because it was the Sabbath. But I came back at first light. And do you know, listen, that stone somehow was rolled away. The soldiers were gone. At first I thought someone had stolen his body. I mean, who would do such a thing? But then I saw I know it sounds crazy, I saw an angel. I saw, maybe it was 2. And they said, do not be afraid. He's not here. He's risen, just like he said he would. But what does that even mean? I ran into someone in the garden. I thought it was the gardener. But then, Mary, he said my name. It was him. That whatever you're thinking, whatever fear you may be feeling, whatever problem seems unsolvable, just look at it through the light of what has just happened. A resurrection has just happened. And there's something on the other side of that fear or pain or even death. And it's something very, very good. Jesus is alive. Come, let us celebrate.